Well, the shocking abuse allegations at a corporate daycare in Bengaluru have sparked nationwide outrage. Beyond the criminal investigation lies a much larger question. Can working parents trust the childcare system they depend on every day? The case involves an on-campus daycare at Capgemini's Bengaluru campus, where disturbing videos showed toddlers subjected to abuse, being thrown into washing machines, jet spray being hurled into their mouths, screeching, petrified toddlers, 2, 3, 4-year-olds. Police have now made the initial arrests of daycare nannies. While investigations continue, authorities are also expanding the probe beyond a single facility. In the wake of the incident, Bengaluru police have announced a city-wide review of daycare centers and corporate crèches to check compliance with safety norms, staff verification and child protection protocols. At the same time, the Karnataka State Commission for Protection of Child Rights has launched an independent inquiry into possible institutional lapses. The timing is significant because India's daycare sector is growing rapidly. According to industry estimates, the preschool and childcare market was worth more than $4.6 billion in 2024 and is expected to more than double over the next decade. The rise is being driven by nuclear families, dual income households, and legal requirements for large employers to provide creche facilities. But this is not just about childcare. It is also about India's economy. India's urban female labour force participation remains among the lowest compared with many fast-growing economies. Experts say access to safe, reliable childcare is one of the biggest factors that enables women to join and remain in the workforce. Global institutions, including the IMF, have estimated that closing India's gender gap in workforce participation could significantly increase the country's economic output. Safe daycare, therefore, is no longer just an employee benefit. It is critical social infrastructure that supports families, strengthens workplaces, and fuels economic growth. As the investigation continues in Bengaluru, the case has become a wake-up call for corporate India, regulators, and policymakers. Because for millions of working parents, a daycare is built on one thing above all else: trust. And there is no scope for India to afford to break that trust. I'm being joined by Sanjay Sahai, former ADGP Karnataka, Advocate Nidhi Sharma, child rights and juvenile justice expert, former senior consultant with NCPCR. I'm also being joined by Dr. Jayanti Datta, who's a psychologist. Thank you very much, all three of you, for joining me. Advocate Nidhi Sharma, let me just straight start with you. Hours since what's unfolded, you've had couple of nannies arrested. They were part of the daycare system. There's no case against the IT firm. The IT firm says that they are cooperating with the police officials. We've gone through the horror of it all. We've gone through the horror of it all multiple times since these videos came out. Where does the buck stop?
First of all, thank you for calling all of us here. First and foremost, this is very horrifying, deeply concerning, what is happening in Bangalore. And corporate, the IT company running this crèche, though they are claiming it to have outsourced it, they are not taking responsibility, which they are supposed to take. Investigation is undergone, and however, I would like to point out the most important thing is there is a Juvenile Justice Act. The Juvenile Justice Act is a Bible Act. We call it a Bible Act for child safety, care, and protection. As per the Act, Section 75 says that whoever takes care, who has the custody or takes care of the child, and any child, if it gets abused or any kind of negligence is taken place at their place, they are under the obligation, they are responsible for the act. And if the IT company is saying they are not responsible, they are just putting all cooperation with the investigation agency, that is not the case. They have to be booked under the Juvenile Justice Act, Section 75. They cannot give away with their responsibility. There should be a proper investigation against them, not only the caregivers who were doing this act, but also the the responsibility owes with the company and the employers. They cannot just simply say, "Can I speak in Hindi, please?"
Sure. Go ahead, ma'am. Go ahead.
या सेक्शन 75 जेजे एक्ट मैंने आपको बताया अभी, जो उसके हिसाब से अगर कोई कंपनी या कोई भी पर्सन जो अपने जो केयर गिवर नहीं, अगर पेरेंट नहीं है लेकिन अगर पेरेंट्स भी है, तो भी अगर उनके पास वो बच्चे की कस्टडी है in any form, they are responsible for any negligence, any kind of abuse or anything against the child.
Right.
अगर वो बच्चे की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी को प्रॉपरली नहीं रख सकते हैं तो सेक्शन 75 जेजे एक्ट उनको उसके अंडर बुक करने के लिए प्रावधान प्रोवाइड करता है.
Right. Advocate Nidhi Sharma, you've made some very important points. Sanjay Sahai, good to have you again, sir. I want to take
Thank
this
you.
forward. We discussed this in detail. Now we have somebody who's very closely linked, has been part of the NCPCR as well. She is making it very clear that the IT company cannot say that they were not responsible even if they have outsourced the daycare facility. Now, I don't want to bay for anybody's blood. There is a probe that is going on. The probe should take its due course. But if such is the case, then why is there no case against Capgemini?
We are not able to understand the understanding with which the police and government has been acting in this case. I'm totally amiss. See, the standard issue is, leave aside the section 75 of the Juvenile Justice Act, which is very important and it is the most critical section in that particular act. Now, these kids were going to this particular crèche. It was not the nanny's crèche. It was Capgemini's official crèche for its employers. So even at that particular level, it is the prime responsibility of Capgemini to run the crèche in a manner which is safe and secure, which they have not been able to. Even today, they are playing game. And the game is they are not telling us the name of the outsourced company and what is their nature of relationship with the outsourced company. They will have to tell us as to what the terms and conditions under which this outsourced company came. Having said that, now the outsourced company, if we find that they're equally a part of it, or Capgemini, which is very clear-cut, straight-away responsible. I've been telling over and over again, they are the accused number one in this case, and running behind nannies is only a small part of the story, notwithstanding the fact that is
really
one of the most
isn't it?
horrendous videos.
It's not just a small part of the story, it's possibly the easier part of the story.
No. I was completing it. Notwithstanding that it is horrendous and unimaginable. Nonetheless, the legal ownership, responsibility, and accountability. See, that becomes very important. Now, what happens in most of the cases where the actual incident has happened or an offense has happened, so we keep focusing on that, which is important, very, very important. It is critical. But while we are focusing on that, people who are responsible, who are accountable, who are legally, they have to be there. We allow them to go scot-free. We are finding it in variety of cases. So, if we don't book Capgemini, it will be next to impossible to rein in these MNCs. Bangalore is full of them. All of us are aware of it. And the way they ride roughshod on rules and businesses, I think it is a sad story. And there are people, I was in one of the shows yesterday, there are people who want us to believe that MNCs are at a different level, their level of professionalism, and they cannot go wrong, and a variety of other things. The Bangalore City Police should act and get Capgemini, whosoever is a supervisory officer, we are not talking of CEO. With the HR, there will be some person who will be supervising the whole thing.
Sure.
He has to be held responsible. And if Capgemini feels that whatever we are saying is wrong, the court is open to them. Let them explain that they don't have any liability. But why should
but
the
the fact
police...
is that they will have to explain only after the police takes an action.
No, that is what I'm saying. Why should the police decide? Why
Okay.
should the police
I mean, this is a
decide?
police officer saying, so I don't have to explain any further. Otherwise, I would usually be given the word, the probe is on, don't get into the process, and so on and so.
No,
Don't run a media trial.
Why
The
should
police
we do
officer
that?
is saying, I don't need to say anything here. Thank you, sir. Dr. Jayanti Datta, let me just come to you at this point. You know, I'm a mother, you all are parents. This is a nightmare. A nightmare at so many levels. But I want to talk to you something important. Because this is irreparable. You know,
Absolutely.
this is
absolutely
toddlers,
Absolutely.
particularly
Yes.
2 years old,
And
3
this
years
is,
old,
you know,
they have an innate ability to move on in life. Because that's how they are built. Their memory, their attention, they can move on fast. But this scars them. Toddlers being bitten. Toddlers being beaten black and blue. Toddlers being pushed into washing machines, jet sprayed at them. Explain to this country just how irreparable is this damage to India's future.
It is indeed very scary, and I'm shocked to hear that the companies like Capgemini is disowning the responsibility. How the hell can you disown the responsibility? You are taking care of the toddlers of whom? The workers, the employees of your company. They have trusted you. They have trusted you with their toddlers, and you are having these toddlers being brutalized. You have raised a very pertinent point. You know, it has a very long-term, deep-rooted scarring component, not only in their cognition, in their emotion, in their psychosexual development. Totally, you know, these kind of brutalizations of the toddlers would leave a very, very damaging mark in their total mental health. You never know that these kids might, you know, by the time they go into the primary age range, 5 to 6 years, they would probably show some psychotic features, some neurotic features. My problem is, how can a company like Capgemini disown their commitments towards their employees and now say that we've been outsourcing? The toddlers were kept in your organization, in your daycare center, only because of you. I've been hearing a lot of stories about Capgemini, even for their HR, you know. The very credible candidates who apply for the jobs never get called. And what happens, we don't know. Now the corporate sectors coming up with these kind of irresponsible remarks, you know, we have nothing to do, we have outsourced. What kind of steps have they taken? They are saying we have closed down this daycare facility. That's not the end of what compensation are you giving to your employees who have been, whose kids have been brutalized like this? You don't know what is in future they will have to face. Secondly, we heard the same kind of story. Let the working hours be stretched to 90 hours. Now this is India, and if the government doesn't take cognizance of this kind of a brutalizations of their employees, you know, they are hired at a much cheaper rates than compared to the foreign companies, foreign nations. And here they are disowning the total responsibility after brutalizing the children like this. How could they have allowed to, you know, let these caretakers behave like this with the children, and now how can they disown it? I think it's high time we should really go after Capgemini, make them, force them to take on the owners, because it's their name tag, you know, it is their responsibility, it is their HR. Whosoever appointed these people, I think one should find out who were in nexus by appointing these kind of, you know, the I mean, it's unthinkable. I'm lacking the words to express. How can a woman, how can these people, you know, who are supposed to take care of the children, brutalize them so badly?
Absolutely.
And the Capgemini is disowning it totally. I don't think they should be allowed to disown the responsibility. It's not just a simple thing by closing the daycare center, your job is over. No. What is the compensation are you bringing to the table for all those parents whose children you have brutalized?
Okay. In fact, Advocate Nidhi Sharma, take this forward for us, because there's another aspect to this, which is when you have daycares, are there rules and regulations with minimum training and experience that's required? Is there something in our country today?
Yes, NCPCR. While I was working in NCPCR, I can definitely tells you about that. NCPCR has drafted a guidelines for the crèche, and that is in place. However, most of the state governments and the institutions have not taken any kind of adherence to it. They are not following the guidelines and the norms notified by the NCPCR. Even the Supreme Court has taken so many time cognizance of such things that they have also, by their directions, passed the guidelines for such kind of incidences.
No, you're making a very important point, and there's a word that you used. NCPCR has made guidelines. Essentially, when I interpret that, there is nothing in our country today that regulates daycares across the country and has the power and the teeth to ensure that they function in a safe manner. Is that how I read it? Is that correct?
That is correct. There is no specific regulation or act for the protection of children for in the crèches or daycares, but definitely Juvenile Justice Act is there, which takes care of everything: care, protection, and safety of children. And we have other acts also, like BNS, Constitution.
But all of them are things that come into place, sir. Come in at this point, Mr. Sahai. All of this which Advocate Nidhi made points about, she spoke about, are those that kick into after the crime is done, after the horror is done. How to ensure the horror doesn't happen doesn't seem to be there.
With due regards to whatever the panelist has been talking about, these are dead documents. The National Crèche Scheme Guidelines, whichever year it came into existence, is primarily a document which has been created for office purposes and consumption, and for that particular commission or the committee to show it to the world that they have done something. In all likelihood, these guidelines would not be available even with the corresponding offices in the states.
I don't even know whether the corresponding minister in charge for this department would know these.
So let's take it a step further. So I stay in a colony which is HSR layout in Bangalore, and I have all daycare centers all around me of a range of 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs, 4 lakhs, you name it, and they are brand names. You're talking about training, you're talking about the understanding. You need psychologists also besides. So they are coming up with your kid can become a Ferrari driver. One daycare is talking about how you make an entrepreneur out of a 1.5-year-old fellow. So they have taken it to a totally different level, and the parents, they find very, very fanciful, drawing very fat salaries, that their kid is going to the right place and something great is going to happen. As it stands today, daycare happens to be more than, inclusive of pre-nursery and all that, more than a $10 billion empire. It is another coaching. What coaching we are finding all across the country, this is another coaching sort of an industry, totally unregulated. You can behave in whichever you feel like. And just in case you're trying to bring in some sensible level of service, which there are few who are providing, or might be quite a few are providing, it is coming at a price which is just unimaginable. So this is broadly where you stand. There are no places where you have any training, any standard protocol. See, if it is that particular institution, if they want to do, they are doing it. If they don't want to do, they don't do it.
Okay. Dr. Jayanti, give me just exactly 30 seconds. I think Advocate Nidhi wants to make a point. Advocate Nidhi, make your point, and then I'll go for the last remarks. Go ahead, Ms. Advocate Nidhi.
I just want to add one more thing. I just checked with online that there is one national policy for children 2013 in place which takes care of crèche children and daycare children also. They have proper guidelines prepared in that particular policy, which is available online also, and it is.
So who's responsible to implement it?
Ministry of Women and Child Development.
Center or state?
Center. It is drafted by center under Mission Vatsalya, but it is for all the state governments to उनको process उनको करना होता है उसे.
So here we go. I mean, the fact that it is not being seen on the ground, it's not being implemented, just shows what a failure it is.
No. Here, our perpetrator is Capgemini. whatever rules and regulations you have in the existing documents, that holds true. But why should we spare Capgemini?
No, I don't
Because
think
it is
any one of
their
us here is.
responsibilities.
That's
yes,
right.
I don't think they should be spared, and it is not the ultimate decision of theirs. We have closed the crèche, so we disown all the responsibility.
Absolutely. Dr.
I don't
Jayanti, I'm
agree
short
with
on time. I want to ask you one question before I end this discussion. You're a
Yes.
woman, you're a working woman. I want to ask you this question. These kind of incidents takes every working woman how many years back at a time when we are trying to get them back into the workforce?
See, the major conflicts, it is gonna create such a problem for the working mother also, whether to continue with her work or not. I'm facing this kind of problems by professionals here in Delhi, the doctors, the dentist. I was invited by their organization also to address in Pragati Maidan, and it is such a huge kind of a conflict for them, how to trust, whom to trust. And a company like Capgemini, as I told you, their HR is also, not having a very good reputation, because many people come to me who have
Okay, we'll not get into that, ma'am. We don't, I mean, let's
but
not
the
veer out
children-
of the topic. We don't
I'm
have...
talking about the children, their
Right.
safety. I want the Capgemini to be booked and let them come to the table with the compensation packages
Right.
for all the parents whose children have been brutalized.
I think the message is loud and clear. No one is going to accept this. It should not be accepted. And as I have been saying time and again, I think governments need to act. Center and state governments, they need to act. In this particular case, let's just start with Karnataka. The police needs to move, for which the government needs to show intention. Sanjay Sai, less than 10 seconds. I don't have the time, sir.
Yes, the governments don't have the wherewithal to act. They don't have the resources to act. They
So if
have
the government
very
doesn't
small-
have the wherewithal to act, then
Yes,
I think
yes,
I can
that
only
is
say
where-
God
that
save
is
us.
where it is.
There has to be
Unfortunate.
a will.
I'm totally
There
out of
has
time.
to be a will
I'm
to
totally out
act.
of time. If they have
That's all.
time to spend money on politics
Yes.
and votes,
They will not
this
spend
better
here.
this better be a vote bank. Parents, they better wake up to understand what constitutes vote bank. Sanjay Sahai,
Civil-
Advocate Nidhi Sharma, and Dr. Jayanti Datta, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.